Hi guys, this is Miss Carballo, and today we're going to talk about solving and graphing inequalities, which are a lot like equations, but there's a few differences. So let's look at this first equation with the equal sign. If we subtract 2 on both sides, x equals 3. Okay, and then here's an inequality. Notice that there is no equal sign. There's a greater than sign, which makes it an inequality. When we subtract 2, x is now greater than 3. It's not equal to 3, it's greater than 3. So equations have one answer. It's always going to say x equals some value. Inequalities will have multiple answers. So if you're graphing this solution, x equals 3, on a number line, it's only 3. So like we just have one dot, I want to say x equals 3. This one says x is greater than 3. So I want everything right here and after to be represented. So I kind of like want to shade in all of this stuff here on this side of the 3, like everything. So we represent that with an arrow. Okay, you might remember this from last year. Is less than and is greater than doesn't want to include that number. So you leave it as an open circle. And when there's an is equal to line at the bottom of your inequality symbol, it's a closed circle because you want to include that number as part of your graph. See, this one had no line, so it's not filled in because I don't want to have 3 as part of my solution. All right, let's go to the second page. So we've got the direction of the arrow. So when the letter or the variable is the greater side, so it doesn't matter if it's on the right or the left side. If it's the bigger side, the arrow always goes to the right. All right. So in the first one, that's easy because the variable is on this side, but see how it's opened to that variable? So the arrow goes to the right because that always represents the bigger numbers, even when you're on the negative side of the integer of the number line. So this one says that the x is still the greater side. And so the arrow still goes to the right because all of these are bigger numbers, even on the negative side of the number line. So some of your teachers might last year said, well, if the arrow points this way, then it goes to the right. But that's not always the case when the variable's on the other side. So I don't say it that way. I say if the variable is the bigger side, the arrow goes to the right, and it doesn't matter if it's on the left or the right side. Don't get in the habit of switching your x over here just because you don't like it over here too, because this year we're going to solve inequalities, so you might want to leave it on the side it starts with. Okay, when the letter or variable is less than, the arrow goes to the numbers that are less on the number line, which is always to the left. No matter where you're at on the number line, all the numbers to the left are getting smaller. So here's my variable. Is it the smaller side or the bigger side? It's the smaller side, right? It only has 1 dot instead of 2, or the mouth is open to the 3 of the alligator, whatever you learned in elementary school. The arrow goes to the left. And here, the arrow goes to the left also because the x is over here, but it's still the smaller side of this inequality. So we go to the left. Any number that makes an inequality true is a solution. You'll hear that word a lot this year. It's a solution. It's an answer of the inequality. And inequalities have many solutions. So pick 4 that are greater, or pick 4 possible solutions that would go with this, and pause here and see if you get the same ones as me. All right, guys, did you get the same as me? I said 5, 6, 7, 8, but really you could have listed any number that's greater than 4, not 4, any number greater than 4. Okay, now the number line. So I always make you have 3 numbers, so 3 tick marks, and then at least your number needs to be one of them that we're graphing. And then you fill in the left number and the number that's on the right of that. Make sure you're doing the right depending on if you're on the negative side of the number line. Okay, my variable is the greater side, so my arrow is going to the right, where the greater numbers are. And it's not equal to 4. So 4 is not one of the answers, so I want to leave it open. To help, I used to teach no line, no fill. Line fill, no line, no fill. All right, guys. Example 1. Determine whether each number is a solution of x is less than or equal to 7. Is 6, so you're testing each one, is 6 less than or equal to 7? Yes, it is. Is 7 less than or equal to 7? Yep, it's the equal part, so that one works too. Is -7 less than or equal to 7? Yes, it is. And is -6 less than or equal to 7? Yes, it is. So all of those are a solution of x is less than or equal to 7. All right, flip it over. So now we're going to graph each number, each inequality on the number line. And remember, you need 3 tick marks, and this number always needs to be one of them. Just make sure you're putting the right numbers to the left and right of yours, depending on the number line side. This is an open circle, no line, no fill. And is my variable the bigger side of the inequality? Yes, so my arrow goes to the greater side. Try 2, 3, and 4 and pause here and then come back and check your answers. Good luck, guys. All right, guys, how'd you do? We have an open circle on the -2 and my arrow goes to the left, and notice the numbers underneath. You got to make sure your numbers on the number line are written correctly. Check the wall, number line if you need to. This one is a closed circle, line fill. And my H this time is on this side, but it's the smaller side. See how the bigger side is the 3, the H is the smaller side. And so my arrow has to represent the smaller numbers. Closed circle to the right because my variable is the bigger side here. 2 dots. All right, now we're going to solve them and then graph them. It's very similar to solving an equation. There's a few parts that make it different, but a lot of it is the same. So there's a few exceptions to the rules, but a lot of it is the same as solving equations. So the journey of x was adding 4. We're going to subtract 4 on both sides. And x is not equal to 4. It's greater than 4. You keep whatever that inequality symbol is right there. And to graph, make sure you have your 4 in the middle or somewhere on your number line. And this is an open circle, no line, no fill, because I don't want 4 to be included. And my variable is the greater side, so I go to the right. Try number 2 and pause here and see how you do. All right, guys, how'd you do? Added 3 on both sides, so C is less than or equal to 5. That's a closed circle, and my arrow goes to the left. Hope you're doing good. Now let's multiply and divide to solve. Pause here, see if you can solve these two. You're just doing the same thing you would if it was an equation, but you keep the inequality symbol. Good luck, guys. All right, guys, how'd you do here? So I divided this one both sides by 3, and x was less than, don't put equal to, less than 4. Open circle on the 4, and my arrow goes to the left because my x is the smaller side. See how it only has 1 dot, and the 4 has got 2, if that's the way your teacher taught you. For the second one, I had to multiply both sides by 4 because that's the opposite of division. So y is greater than or equal to -32. And there's my -32. Don't forget on the negative side, your numbers are kind of switched. They look weird. And then my arrow goes to the right, and it's a filled in circle because this is greater than or equal to. All right. Here is the important part. This is the part of solving inequalities that makes it a little bit different than solving equations. So when both of the expressions, so that means this side and this side, are multiplied or divided by a negative number, you flip it. You flip the inequality symbol that's in the middle. So to solve this, we would divide both sides by a -5, just like we would an equation. But when that happens, our sign in the middle gets flipped. So instead of a less than, it becomes a greater than sign. And I have k is greater than -2. Okay, so that was the big change. We flipped the sign in the middle. So if I have -2 here, -1 here, -3 here, I have an open circle, and my arrow goes to the right, to the greater side, because the k is on the greater side. So that's the only difference when you multiply, here it is right here, multiply or divide by a negative number on both sides. Notice it's not addition or subtraction, it's only multiplication and division. All right, guys, try 2, 3, and 4, see how you do. Good luck. All right, guys, almost done. Let's see how you did. In number 2, we had to multiply both sides by a negative 3, and when you multiply by a negative, we flip our sign in the middle from greater than or equal to less than or equal to. Notice I keep my R on this side, and we keep our answer on this side. The only thing we're flipping is the inequality symbol in the middle. So I've got negative 3 here because 1 times negative 3 is negative 3, and my arrow goes to the left because it's the smaller side of my inequality, 1 dot, and it's a closed circle because it's equal to. All right, how'd you do on number 3? I divided both sides by a negative 2, so x was greater than, flip my sign, a positive 3, open circle because there's no line, no fill, and then my arrow goes to the right because my x is on the greater side of the inequality symbol. Last one. This time I had to multiply both sides by a negative 2 to get rid of this negative 2 on the bottom, or division. And that leaves me y is less than or equal to, flip my sign because I multiplied both sides by a negative. And I have a closed circle because of the equal to, I want to include that negative 48, and my arrow goes to the left because my variable is on the least side this time. All right, I hope that helps. Everything is the same except when you multiply or divide both sides by a negative number. Mrs. Tucker's husband, Mr. Tucker, has made us a really cool video on YouTube. He's put it on YouTube. He made it a few years ago about when to flip the inequality sign. So the lyrics are on our Google site, our class site, and it's kind of fun to listen to his rap about flipping the inequality sign. There's also some other information about him. He's a really talented artist, and he was on American Idol. So go ahead and check our class site. Hopefully that helps too. Let me know if you have any questions as usual. If this did not help, I am here to help you in the classroom. Thanks, guys.